Hi, this is Phil Shapiro. I've recently finished reading a really interesting book, The Alternative by Maurice Miller. The subtitle of this book is Most of What You Believe About Poverty is Wrong. So this is an autobiography. Here is the author with his mother when he was a child, and his mother, Mexican-American, very, very remarkable woman. And in fact, this book is almost, the book is like a tribute to his mother. And the values that she brought to our country, the United States, that were really excellent family values, supportive values that allowed her children to thrive. There was Mauricio and his older sister. So Mauricio Miller was chosen for a Macarthur Fellow Award back in 2012 for his innovations in helping people with economic mobility, raising people up out of poverty using better methods. So let's take a look here, find out more about this book. I really enjoyed reading it. It's a short read and very engaging. So this is the back cover. Kat Taylor, co-CEO and co-founder of Beneficial State Bank. Mauricio Miller's honest and forceful call for self-determination could not come at a better time. He challenges conventional fixes for poverty by urging us to invest directly into people, recognizing their resourcefulness, not their deficits. So this is really, it's just a different and better approach that takes away pity and that pity doesn't need to be part of charity. Charity needs to be support. And it's a common sense approach. There's Clara Miller, president of the F.B. Heron Foundation. The alternative is not only important reading, it's imperative. Miller, a trained engineer, the one-time manager of a top social service organization, and most importantly, the son of a remarkable single mother, has both lived and observed the failings embodied in our attitudes towards the poor. So this book is a first-person account, and you get to see life through Mauricio's eyes. And that's the benefit I had of reading this book, is that I could appreciate what it's like to live in America when your mom is working really, really hard and there's a single parent. So here's some more testimonials in the back. Jeff Edelson, Dean School of Social Welfare, University of California at Berkeley. I'm not going to read this out loud. You can read it. You can stop the YouTube video if you're interested. In Shaka Zulu, big chief of the Yellow Pocahontas Mardi Gras Indian tribe. Some interesting testimonials. I want to go straight to the review. I'm not going to read these. This is the author. In recognition of his unconventional approach to generating economic mobility, Mauricio was awarded a Macarthur Genius Fellowship in 2012. Was appointed by President Obama to the Council for Community Solutions, is an Ashoka Fellow, a Prime Mover Fellow, a Purpose Prize winner, and was honored by invitation to President Clinton's 1999 State of the Union address, where also Rosa Parks showed up. So it's quite fascinating. Mauricio Miller, Rosa Parks, these are great Americans. And here's a quote. I grabbed a couple of quotes to give you a flavor of the book. When I hear the term generational poverty today, I'm skeptical. This overused phrase implies that once in poverty, people stop trying and stay there for generations, sucking up government benefits and social service programs. That wasn't my experience with my family or our friends and neighbors. So he talks about his sister, and he did research on the topics of economic mobility, and part of his research, which is shown in the book, is that most people live in poverty just a few years, and when they're unemployed and they pull themselves out of poverty. Researchers and journalists use these phrases recklessly and incorrectly. A more accurate depiction of the working poor would bear witness to the hard work of those who clean our hotel rooms and wash our dishes, and the fact that those in poverty will only be there temporarily. The experts should report that the problem is not getting people out above poverty, since all but a few percentage climb out on their own, but that the greatest challenge lies above the poverty line as part of the working poor. So, and there's some charts and graphs. Some interesting thinking. I guess, it's almost like applying a growth mindset, an assets-based thinking. The benefit I had of reading this book is that traditional methods, our methods have been flawed. And with flawed methods, we get poor results. So, Mauricio L. Miller, he has a nonprofit, the Family Independence Initiative. You should go visit their website. Sign up for a newsletter if they have the newsletter there. Follow their Twitter account. I think there's so much to be learned from being able to reevaluate past methods and come up with better methods. And the better methods have better results. It's good for everybody, really. Good for everybody. Then there's a quote here about technology. So I'm interested in technology as a geek myself and how technology can help uplift those. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more about things like open source or Linux. That would have been kind of interesting to have in here. But even without that in here, he had some pretty interesting comments. So Mauricio ended up at University of California, Berkeley. He studied engineering. He has some really interesting things to say over there. He was there in the 1960s. There's a lot of turmoil in Berkeley on campus. And his mother was working very hard all the time. And he got sent off to Vietnam. He spent 2 or 3 years in Vietnam, serving his country. Came back safely, thankfully. And so his mother's health had deteriorated. She didn't have health insurance. And so that was an interesting and sad part of this story. A time to reflect and read about this stuff. And although it sounded risky, I had survived the Vietnam War, and since my mother was no longer alive to tell me otherwise, I took a job. So then he got involved in training these gang-affiliated youth to do some construction work. And as he was doing that, he came across these like catch-22s, things that were totally illogical about the support that he was allowed to offer certain youth and not allowed to offer other youth. And so it's from those frustrations that he came up with a better way, which is The Alternative, the title of this book. It's The Better Way. So that is my general impressions of the book. Very interesting. He's a good storyteller. I found it a captivating read, and I commend it to you. Please ask your public library to buy a copy, and we need copies in our little free library. So if you buy a personal copy, please drop it off in a little free library, either in your own town or drive to a different town. Why not? Drive to a different town. And then somebody's going to be very happily surprised to come across a book of this caliber and thoughtfulness. Thank you, Mauricio. And go visit the Family Independence Initiative, their website. You can continue learning from this gentleman whose mother has given a great gift to our country with her values, and the values are embodied in her son. So, fascinating book. Came out, this is 2017, so it just came out in the past month. This is Phil Shapiro. If you're interested in my other book reviews, you can go to sites.google.com/site, Phil Shapiro Book Reviews. I have a bunch of book reviews there. If you're curious how I made this video, I'm using some free software called Simple Screen Recorder. I have a Lenovo ThinkPad laptop. I use this free software called Linux Mint. I love it. I'm recording my audio to my Olympus digital audio recorder. I have a Logitech webcam. I love Logitech. I bought that secondhand on eBay. You can get them in the, say, $20 to $40 range, I think. You can get some Logitech webcams. This one is a C525, 720p. Suits all my needs. Look, the colors are vibrant. Makes me look healthy. I'm not even healthy. It makes me look healthy. You can contact me at my contact information. Here's my email, my Twitter. Here's my YouTube channel. You can subscribe to me on my YouTube channel. That's a nice way of saying thanks. Oops, something went away. Something went away. Oops, 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 oops. Here we are. And if you'd like, you can also support me on Patreon. So I have a Patreon account. Patreon was invented like 3 or 4 years ago by Jack Conte. Thank you, Jack. This is what my Patreon account looks like. So Patreon lets any individual support a creative content maker like me, and you can give like $1 a month or $2 a month. And the idea is that if enough people give me $1 or $2 a month, it actually adds up to something. So Patreon was created because YouTube is very shameful in how they compensate people who are creative. And so I'm allowed to wag my finger. This is my screencast. YouTube, you should be shamed. You do a very poor job of compensating creative people. So we had to invent our own solution. We call it Patreon. There's still time for you to do a better job, YouTube. But Patreon is excellent. I love to support other people on Patreon. So I support a number of people on Patreon. And I encourage anybody who's creative to set up a Patreon account. Send me an email. I might end up supporting you. So this is Phil Shapiro. Over and out. See you next time.